Baby, I don't like it in here.
Hey, what's the matter with you?
Where did he go?
Wild. Put your soul into it. Wild. What's going on around you?
And welcome everybody to Haunting Live podcast this week. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. We are live on YouTube right now, and yes, thank you very much for tuning in. We do have a special guest this week who we'll bring on in just a moment. But first of all, I want to thank everybody for all the subscribes lately. We appreciate that very much on our YouTube channel. We've noticed a bunch of new subscribers, so thank you very much. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to us yet, please do hit the subscribe button and also like our video. That helps us out a lot here at Haunting Live Podcast. And if you're new here, what we are is a paranormal streaming show live on YouTube where we have a special guest interview each and every week, Sundays at 4 o'clock, and we talk to them about their topics, what they're into, anything in the paranormal field. And today we do have a special guest. We welcome Amber Price to the show. She is a clarity expert, and we're going to be talking to her today about her journey through clarity, what that means, and intuition, and all that kind of stuff today. So let's bring in Amber. Hi, Amber. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and taking your time out to be our guest here at Haunting Live Podcast this week as a clarity expert.
Of course. Thank you. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So for our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about what it means to be a clarity expert and what that's all about?
Absolutely. So as a clarity expert, so essentially I use my intuitive abilities to help people, I guess, identify their inner self. So have a deeper self-awareness. And through that, I'm able to help them see different perceptions and different belief systems that might be preventing them from kind of, exploring their journey and being able to kind of delve into their intuitive self, which essentially helps with the clarity to make better choices and conscious choices.
Right, so it kind of goes hand in hand with intuitive work, being clarity experts, sort of giving them better vision of what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes, because it is so important that we honor our intuitive being and we tap into that, knowing or the intuitive skills that we all have. And, there's some people that are able to do it and they're always thinking, oh, I have that gut feeling, or I should have, I knew, or whatever. And then there's people who I've talked to that are like, oh no, I don't have any of this ability at all. And then they would reach out to someone like me, that would help them really kind of just get that clarity without them having to do that work. But I found that when people are able to kind of see the spots that they've got within their own journey and use their intuition to help them in that sense, then it makes it easier for them to kind of, get every day, like live every day.
Yeah, so why would somebody come to you for, I guess, your services that you provide? Is there some catalyst to them coming to you? Like, have you found that people sort of wake up one day and say, I need this or I need that? What's the one main reason why people come to you?
So it started out that the main reason people were coming to me was because I offered mediumship services. So I was able to help them connect to their loved ones or their spiritual team on the other side. And so, that would be primarily what the draw was originally. Now, as I've evolved and have gone through years and years of kind of honing in what it is that I'm meant to be doing here, what my purpose is, it's more of, I hear people saying, I need clarity. I'm here for clarity. And so that hence the clarity expert, because clarity coaching was a lot of what I was starting out to do. So I started out doing mediumship readings, and that was really meaningful to me. And I was hoping that that would be, creating an impact, but it really did evolve. And so now, if you want to come to me, you would be looking more for identifying what's going on within your own body, mind, and soul, how you can use your energy or your chakra, your aura, your energy body to be able to communicate and connect. It's a lot about finding clarity in areas of life like love, relationships, and career, finance, and things like that. But using your own perception and your own experiences, because you've got to be able to use people's experiences and perceptions to help them see where they're getting these roadblocks and obstacles, or what belief systems that are preventing them. And sometimes it just takes someone like me on the outside that can connect to their higher self and their soul, to say, here's some areas of light or clarity, and let's explore those things. So a lot of people now, the draw would be, help me find the clarity and take out the confusion and the stress of not knowing how to connect body, mind, and soul to live as a human.
And what have you found lately, especially with the way things are in the world these days, how people come to you? Like, what's the one most thing people come to you for these days?
Yeah. So they're coming to me because they need to find guidance on what they're doing next, especially with what's going on right now in the world. A lot of people that are connected to me or drawn to me are empaths or highly sensitive people in the first place. And that is something that's, very daunting and drawing on their physical health, their emotional health, and, mental health. And so a lot of people right now are specifically saying, please help me find out, what am I doing? What is my purpose? Because, for instance, if somebody's changing their career right now, that's a big deal. That's what I'm getting a lot of. Like, I don't want to be in the career that I'm in, but that is associated with my identity. So who am I now if I abandon that identity of myself in this career? But as I said, these empaths that are coming to me and they're asking for this guidance and insight, is there's an attachment, an energy attachment to that. So they don't know how to disconnect from, it's okay that I lived and did this for a period of time, and now I'm switching and I'm exploring something new. It doesn't, your soul is the same. It's just what you're choosing to do in the human experience is changing. But, dealing with the attachments that come with the energy for that. But ultimately, to answer your question, it is a lot about career, and a lot of people are starting their own businesses. And because of what's happening in the world right now, a lot of people are doing virtual things. And so, whether it's offering products or services, or delving into an app themselves, or developing a website, podcast, etc., it's a big deal because it's a new identity. So that's the thing, is how does my identity affect my soul's purpose and journey? And they need clarity on that.
And how do you help people do that precisely? So what would be the next steps when somebody comes to you? How do you prepare, sort of help that person go through that?
Yeah. I'm using my intuitive ability. So, even though, I've made the shift from, mediumship to clarity coach or clarity expert, whatever, you can't get rid of it. Like, I'm a medium forever. So this is just who I am. So that is a really big positive in terms of how I use my clarity methodology. So I'm using a connection with my intuition to their higher self, to their spiritual team. I'm connecting to their chakras, their aura. I'm using all of that kind of experience that I've had in human resources, operations, management in my old positions. And I'm using all of those foundations to create how I'm delivering them the service at that moment. So I wouldn't be able to say to somebody while I'm doing it, hey, I'm going to connect to this right now and do this and this and this, because it really is a dance between, my energy body and theirs, and to be able to connect in the way that what they need at the moment. And so I always ask that both mine and their spiritual team is present, and that they're going to help us and also divinely draw me to wherever I need to be to help them, and to help them be open to the process. Because anybody can come and say, here, I need you to tell me an answer to this question. But there's really no benefit in doing that or coming for something like that unless you're really open and wanting to have a meaningful, impactful experience.
Right. So it really takes planning on both the client and yourselves to come together to do this work, right?
Yes.
What do you find that people are having the most issues with? Like, I know you talked about a little bit of that just recently, but is there something that you recommend people to do to prepare before they come to you for this type of service? Before they need to, I know, I guess I'm saying they might not know what they want. They want clarity, they want this, but is there some way that you can guide them to that clarity?
Absolutely. So, I try to give as much information as possible on my website or my social media platforms as to how to prepare or what to expect, or here's what the deal is. I think that when somebody is being, my business is about 95% referral based. So somebody has come to me and said, "Hey, this is what I've experienced. Go check it out." So they've kind of already been prepared ahead of time to say, "Hey, my friend or my sister or my mother had this experience." And so they kind of have an idea. So once they've reached out, they've read the information on the website, and I've given, kind of what to expect, or here's what we're going to be doing. And then in terms of, I always say to them, you can write down questions. You can ask questions when you come, but you have to come with an open mind, because I am reading energy. We are connecting to something that is supposed to be mutually acceptable. I don't usually connect to other people's energy if we're sick, or if there is somebody else present that is blocking that energy. So I always just suggest, hey, you're doing this for you. So come for you, come alone, come and do this and just be invested. Everything I do is confidential, and I treat it with the utmost respect. And so they feel very comfortable to kind of, let out whatever it is that they need and validate what it is that we're experiencing. So in terms of how to be prepared for something like this, you have to be wanting to do it. You have to be invested in it, and you have to be willing to see parts of yourself that we otherwise don't want to see, like our shadow self. The shadow self is something I do a lot of work with. And that is, I think, where we get the most aha moments, because now it's like, oh yes, now I'm seeing how come I didn't want to connect to this person, or why this person's energy was rubbing me the wrong way, or how come I feel so connected to this other human being. So delving deep into that, you have to be willing to want to do that.
Yeah, that's so true. You have to have the willingness to go through with what you want as well to find the answers that you need. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so how does that affect you day to day then? Do you have a lot of clients wanting that type of work these days? You mentioned that you do a lot of work virtually online. How has it been lately for that type of work?
Oh, I have been doing the best that I can to keep up with the amount of work, the amount of people that I want to connect with. When I connect with someone, I put my whole heart and soul into this connection. And so I know my limits and know how many people I can see in the time frame that I have in a day. So there are more people reaching out. And so in order to facilitate that, I kind of try to do group teachings or group coaching sessions, or provide as much information or free resources on my websites as possible for people, so that they can kind of start to do the work themselves and see, is it something I like? Is it something that I want to do? In terms of my day-to-day life, I love being able to have the intuition on my own. It helps me every single day, like in relationships and making choices with my business and finances and things like that. And so I use my energy to kind of decide, do I feel good about this? Is this going to be all right? Or heck no, I'm not even going down that road. And I think that, knowing when my kids need me to give them a call, or knowing when my husband's having a bad day, or, when he's pulling in the driveway, like I know when those things are going to happen. So I think for my day-to-day life, I love using my intuitive abilities, and of course my mediumship abilities, to be able to connect, myself or my loved ones to the people that they've lost.
Yeah, so give us some examples then of, if you can, any stories that you remember from your past of when your intuition has really been helpful to you.
Yeah, okay. So one, just right off the bat, what I'm thinking is, so years ago, and this would have been before I professionally was doing this. This was just like, I know this is what's going on in my world and I'm going to just trust it. So my son was set to go to a trip and he was going to be going to Ottawa or something like that. And the transportation that he was taking, I wasn't quite certain about. I paid for the trip. I did all of that stuff. I'm like, okay, we're doing this. And then 2 days before, I said to my son, I said, honey, here's how I'm feeling. What do you think? And he's like, I trust you. I don't want to go. And I was like, okay, perfect. Well, he messaged, like he came down and said to me the day that they were to go, he said, the transportation I was supposed to take has gone off the road. They're stranded in a snowstorm and they've been out there for 4 hours. And so that's what I got, was that the transportation was going to break down. They were going to be stranded. And all I kept seeing was snow everywhere. And so that was one thing I was so happy about, because I was like, no, I thank goodness. Like, I trusted my instincts. My family trusted me enough to say, yes, we're going to just, ditch this idea and do that. So that was one experience that I would say probably the catalyst into me doing this professionally. Was the one experience that I thought I really, really, followed through on. And there's a lot of times, I'm going to say, that are just like, I'll know when somebody needs me to say something, if that makes sense. Like, in terms of my own family, I might say something immediately and my husband will say, well, I was just thinking that and I didn't ask, like, I was just thinking that. How did you know that? And he'll say, get out of my head. I'm like, I'm not a mind reader. I'm not. It's just, when you're connected to your family, your intuitive abilities heighten to a sense of, that's why we say mother's intuition, or, you're connected to your soulmate or twin flame or whatever, and you get that kind of connection. So I get a lot of that. And do you have time for one more? Okay. Yeah. Cause, oh my goodness, it was my same son. I just realized it was my same son. So I must be super connected to that one. Intuitively. His fiance just had two babies. They just had 2 babies. And for the first pregnancy, I kept, encouraging her. I said, this is going to be okay. We're going to be all right, but you need to see the doctor and you need to ask about A, B, and C. And of course, everything was coming up okay. And then I said, no, around March, we're going to have this. She's going to be born, 3 weeks early. We're going to be doing all these things. And of course, without giving too much information, all of these things actually took place. And when you're using your intuitive abilities, I think what I want to say to everybody is, you need to learn to trust yourself, because that's that little voice in our heads that talks us out of it and says, oh, I must be crazy, or, oh, this doesn't make sense, or whatever. And when I do see other people and I am doing a reading with them, that's the one thing I want them to know is, you do need to trust yourself, but you also have to understand these are glimpses and they're not all 100% like black and white. You need to understand how you interpret those messages so you can learn to trust yourself or not, right? Because I think I know enough now of when I'm getting a message, I know how to interpret it for myself. But when you're giving a reading to someone, or you're teaching somebody else to trust their own intuitive abilities so they get those messages for their family, don't take it so to the point where you're, okay, the number 3 means it's going to be at 3 p.m. today. And when that doesn't happen, I give up, I was wrong, and it doesn't matter. You have to wait till that experience happens to see how your intuitive abilities work, so that 3 could mean March or what have you. So I think that's important. But those are some of the things I think, and mostly connected with my family in terms of using my intuition. And of course, I've had experiences with paranormal stuff, which is so unexplainable, but always fascinating.
Yes, so true. I guess you would have a higher connection for sure with your own immediate family, because those are the people you're around the most. How do you find it when you're dealing with the public then? Do you get that as well when you're dealing with like a stranger person, or like somebody you just met or something? Do you ever feel the urge to tell them something? It's like, I gotta tell you this.
When I connect with people, there's some people that I may have only seen once. And there's, a lot of people that I see regularly. And the more I connect with them and the more they're willing to connect and open up their energy body so that we have that connection, the easier it is to connect, the easier it is to receive intuitive messages. So there will be times where I can get messages, and this is already agreed upon. So these people that I would text and say, hey, just got this message, they've already said to me, you have permission to do this. I wouldn't necessarily myself be texting someone and giving them information if I didn't have a relationship with them to know that this was okay. If it was that important, I would say, I have a message. Are you willing to accept it or not? And if they say yes, then I'll say, okay, here's what I'm receiving. Now, the other thing too is there are some very overpowering messages for strangers or for people that aren't in my family. And I will give them just the same if they've come for a session and this is what we're doing, here we go. If I feel like I'm going down a road where this is a big message, or I feel there's a lot of energy emotionally connected to it, I always ask, can I say anything? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with that? Because I also want them to have a very comfortable experience. Just because they've agreed to something doesn't mean that I can haul out and say whatever I want, because my belief system is this person is in this experience. It's very emotional. And they could be all for it in the moment, but how you deliver it and how respectful you are, that goes a long way. Because when you leave and they have time to come down off of this, or they listen to their recording, you want it to be, respectful, and you want to kind of take into consideration how they're going to feel about something that you've said. So I don't just blurt things in most cases. I just kind of, gently give it. Everybody does it differently. But there has been a time where, and I can't even believe it, but I went to a department store and I didn't want to. I said to my daughter, we were driving, I said, I'm going to go here and then there. And my car drove me there anyway. Like, I'm driving and she says, well, I thought we weren't going here. And I said, well, I guess I am. So we went in, and of course, I'm starting to get energy from these people that are standing in line. And I said to my daughter, you're going to have to pay. I'm going to go to the car because I can't stand here any longer. And of course, everything was going wrong. The paper ran out of the till. They needed a price check. Like, there were so many things that were starting to happen. And of course, I think it is the energy that's causing it all. So she says, Mom, what is the point of this? If this is what you're gifted with, why aren't you saying anything? I said, because they're not here for that. They're here for something else. Well, anyways, my car, which was 3 days old at the time, would not start. Wasn't turning on. Like, for the life of me, I was begging, please turn on, let's go. It was not turning on. So finally, I heard the spirit say, please go over there. Now, in all of the time I've ever worked with spirit, he was probably the only person that ever said please to me, like, please do this for me. So I walked over and I said, I know this is going to sound very odd, and I'm sorry, but I am a medium and I do receive information and I am getting energy. Would you be open to this? This isn't something I want to do. Is this okay with you? And they said, absolutely. Oh my God, we were just looking for a medium the other day. We didn't know who to book. So of course I give the message, and, I trusted in that moment that they made me do, like, spirit made me do this because it was a matter of urgency. Like, it was something they really needed to have said. And that was the case. So his message got delivered. Everything was okay. But then I walked back to my car and I was thinking, okay, now I'm going to have to call like a tow truck. My car turned on. I can't even tell you. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. It just worked. After all of that, his message came through and it was fine. So
Yeah, Spirit definitely had a message for you that day, and a certain course for you to follow that day for sure, right? They wanted you to do something very specific, and you followed your intuition and you did it the way it was supposed to be done. So yeah. I think it was a great message for you.
Yeah, thank you. Because my body's shaking. I'm taking, it's not like in the movies when people think of a medium. It's not like, okay, you deliver the message and you have everything accurate and you can say it like you're reading a book. Like, it's not like that in most cases. Sometimes you get very detailed messages, and other times you're trying to feel like, how do you put a message together with how you feel right now? And back to when you asked about, what people are coming for, and I mentioned about the empaths. That is part of what I do. I teach people how to understand some of that thing that you're explaining as anxiousness or weird tingling in the back of your legs, if you've already seen a doctor and you're professional, like you go to the professional, but outside of that, spiritually, understanding the difference between how am I feeling and how am I feeling because I'm getting intuitive messages. And that's a big deal. And I get the same. I'm not exempt from that. I have physical changes in my body when I start to connect to energy. And when I want to resist it, like in that case, I thought I was going to pass out. Like I was so overwhelmed with energy. And I think after I was done and was able to do that, such a sense of peace came over me. And I think that's another good tip for your listeners is once you've delivered the message or once you've accepted the message and you start to have that validated feeling or that release feeling, you know that you've understood it correctly. Yeah.
That's true too. I think when you do those type of things for spirit, you get the reward afterwards as well, right? It's a benefit for you to get that message to whoever you're delivering it to, but you also get that benefit afterwards of saying, I did what was supposed to be done. And,
yes.
You get that healing energy as well. So,
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So what other type of services do you offer besides that type of messaging or clarity service that you do provide? What sort of other services did you want to quickly mention here today?
Yeah. So the clarity sessions are one-on-one. We can do that individually. I also have clarity coaching. The coaching is super important to me because, a lot of times when you're taking an intuitive course, which I also offer, courses, workshops, seminars, that's where it ends, right? Like people go home, they're done, and they don't really have that ongoing support. So these coaching sessions and programs that I've developed are super important for me because it helps people understand, and then I help and connect and stay connected with them to help them work through those things. So there's the clarity coaching on, hey, I want to understand my belief systems. I want to know my goals. I want to understand how I can get from A to B. This would be for people who want to, make changes like in their business or career, or just in general, learn more about their own self-awareness. Then I have the intuitive development coaching where I'm helping people really learn to understand how to develop their own psychic or mediumship skills and abilities. And then I have Clarity Academy, which is my baby, and I am just absolutely enthralled by it because I developed it in mind of all of my clients who've come to me over the years and said, I'm at a crossroad. I'm in a spiritual awakening. I don't know what the heck is going on. I know something's different. I just don't know what to do with it. So I've put it together where it's an online community, and you can learn at your own pace, and you get worksheets and resources, and I've done all of the legwork. So all the reliable people out there would be on those resources, and weekly lessons that you get, and just a community membership too, if you want to connect with like-minded people. So that's Clarity Academy. I really love that. And most recently, I'm opening a business with two partners, Liz Throp and Jay Lane, and it's called the Psychic Associates. And that is for people who have come to all three of us over the years who are light workers or energy workers that don't know how to start this business because there really isn't any resources out there for people to say, hey, you want to open this? Here's what you do. We all learned from scratch. And so, people will be able to come and take courses and really embrace this journey for their own selves by learning from all the things that we did, all those mistakes and all those triumphs that we had over the years. So we've done that as well. So I've got my hands in a little bit of everything. And so, ultimately my goal is, how can I help people really understand themselves better so that they are living and being them on purpose, like be you on purpose and shine your light so that you can give to the world what you're supposed to.
No, that's wonderful. I think a lot of people are looking for that type of clarity these days, how to move on and do things properly. And if you have that legwork done already, that's really awesome that they can come to you and have you guys help them out that way, and your partners as well there. So I think that'll be a great business for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We're so excited. We're almost ready to launch, and we've got, our community is growing, anticipating the launch, and it'll be super exciting to see how it grows.
When do you expect to open up the business?
So we're hoping for December. I'm not sure exactly what date yet, but it's going to just depend on, we want to make sure it's inclusive, and we've got all this stuff going on. So you know how it is when you're doing a project and you got all those little tiny things that just have to come into place. So hopefully December, but don't mark my words on that, but very, very soon.
Well, we'll keep an eye out on it for sure, and hopefully there'll be an announcement from you that we can share as well here at Haunting Live for our followers, so they can know when that's open for you, and check you guys out. So, but thank you very much, Amber, for being here. I appreciate you taking your time and helping us out here at Haunting Live Podcast this week, and being our guest to talk about your clarity work you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Trevor, for having me. It was such a pleasure, and I would love to connect with you in the future. So whatever I can help you with and share, let me know.
That'd be wonderful. We'll definitely have you back someday as well, and hopefully your business partners as well, if they're interested too, they can come on as well. So, for your business sometimes. So that'd be great. Thank you. Have a great weekend, and thanks again for coming on Haunting Live this week. Yeah. Bye bye. And that was Amber Price joining us here this week on Haunting Live Podcast, talking about clarity and intuitiveness and all that stuff she does for her business and her clients. And it sounds really interesting what she does there for clarity work on her side of things. So big thank you to her for being here this week and talking to us on Haunting Live Podcast. But for you guys watching right now live on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you watching us this week and following us here each and every week, Sundays at 4 o'clock for Haunting Live Podcast. For those of you that don't know who we are, what we do, we are a paranormal streaming show live on YouTube. We have a new paranormal guest each and every week right here. Just like this week we had Amber Price talking about clarity, but we have different topics each and every week, from Reiki to crystals to paranormal topics. And we just have a new guest each and every week that has interesting stories to share. So thank you very much for being here this week, guys. We appreciate it very much. And yeah, don't forget to also check us out on our website. We have a lot of great stuff happening on our website as well, which is HauntingLivePodcast.com. And right now we have a huge sale going on for Cyber Monday and Black Friday. There's a lot of great discounts on our products that we offer for spiritual merch. And we recommend you guys go and check that out and help us out there on our merch side of things. We carry things for the paranormal people, such as crystals, smudging materials, handmade items, different things that you can use in the paranormal field that you need to do work with, such as this one right here, which is a handmade bag with a wolf on it, and it's just a bag you can use to store things like crystals or cards or anything like that that you need to carry around. But recommend you guys go and check stuff like that out on our website right now at a discounted price for Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale happening right now. Also, don't forget to check out Chris does Haunting Live Podcast. He does his own oracle card readings. If you're looking for free readings, we do those here as well. So check those out at HauntingLivePodcast.com. Go under the podcast and check out Divine Oracle readings. They happen every Saturday here at 8 o'clock on YouTube. He does YouTube as well as Facebook, so you can follow him there also. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter as well. So don't forget to follow us over on our social media. We do a lot of postings up there for you guys too. But again, big thank you to Amber Price for being the guest this week, talking about clarity and intuition and what she does and her journey as well. So it's been wonderful to have her on as our guest this week, and we look forward to having our next week's guest come on. So with that, take care, guys. Have a great weekend and stay safe. And don't forget to be here next week for our next guest, Sunday live at 4 o'clock. Have a great weekend, guys.
I'm crazy. I don't like it in here.
Hey, what's the matter with you?
Where did you go?
Wild. Put your soul into it. Wild.
I have been a medium or an intuitive since any of my family can remember. When I started talking, it wasn't always to people who were in the room.
Well, I started off as revealing light tarot. I've moved more over the last 4 years, astrology and spiritualism. In a way, spiritualism goes back to my roots.
I suppose my first gift I had, and I thought everybody knew this is a really bad one. I always knew when people were not telling the truth. And I thought everybody could do that. It was a bit of a shock afterwards when I found out that actually what I was doing, I was tapping into something else.
So when I was a very young kid, I actually used to see some orbs in my room and dark figures, and I was very afraid of the dark. It was right when we had like one computer for the whole house. And I would go on it and I'd Google ghosts and like look into it to understand them, but I would also get very freaked out.